Jerry Jones was on 105.3 The Fan recently. The interviewer asked him a question and he had an absolute meltdown. Let's listen together as a family.
Oh, Jerry, 1970, a little different from this past off season in building the team we're talking about today, which there was a lot of criticism that you guys didn't add, didn't spend, and don't add, and don't spend, and are not aggressive enough with some of the problems that are still haunting the Cowboys today that we see play out on the field. That's the point of talking about the offseason.
I remember those criticisms very well.
You remember them, but did you learn from them, Jerry? Did you learn from them, Jerry?
Okay, so what?
Are they playing out to be accurate?
What's your point? What's your point?
My point is, it seems like
Listen, let me tell you what I'll do. Let me tell you what I'll do about it. I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. Okay? I'll look at it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over a radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwater, you have got to be smoking something over there this morning. I'm not. And I really don't, and I don't even want our listeners to listen to me, to talk about, this is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Well, my job is to ask
why. Get a job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, man.
Jerry, we're trying to figure out why the team is.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding you.
We're not kidding either, Jerry. How dare you, Jerry, feel like you're so beyond reproach that an interviewer can't ask you questions about the organization over which you govern? Is it not a math teacher's job to teach math? Is it not a construction worker's job to construct? This interviewer was asking you very relevant, very poignant questions about your performance on Sunday. The Detroit Lions put the Cowboys on Pornhub. They blew your back out in front of the whole class, and no one can ask you about that? You are the owner, president, general manager of an organization that hits a ceiling every single regular season. If you do go to the playoffs, you can't get past the wild card divisional round. And it's been that way for the last 30 years. You know what the common denominator is? Yeah, Jerry. It's you, Jerry. It's you. People can't ask you about that. How dare you? But that's not good enough, Jerry. So we're going to sit down and look at it. Jerry, you should have looked at it in the offseason, but instead you were somewhere hanging upside down in a cave like a fucking bat or asleep in a crypt somewhere while everyone else, including in your division, was wheeling and dealing and making moves, but you didn't. Question, is your performance, your 47-9 loss to the Detroit Lions, a direct reflection of your inactivity in the offseason? Is that not a legitimate question? Are you talking about you're going to get somebody else to ask you questions? Somebody else who won't check you? Because Jerry Jones, just like all of us, needs someone to check him. This interview might be a microcosm of the professional and personal character flaws that directly affect the Cowboys' failure to get anywhere past a divisional round playoff game. If I was a Cowboys fan, I would be very frustrated. Jerry Jones, you are the problem. Moving right along, the Bucs play the Ravens Monday Night Football after the Bucs beat their division mate Saints 51-27. Those 51 points are the second most points scored in a single game in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers franchise history. The question is, are the Buccaneers real contenders? Real playoff contenders? I think so. Why not? Real Super Bowl contenders? Slow down now, because I have concerns. Let's go through some of them. Let's start with the good. Baker Mayfield has the most passing touchdowns in the NFL, 15 passing touchdowns, but he also has 5 interceptions, which isn't horrible. It could be worse, but it certainly could be better. But 15 passing touchdowns on 5 interceptions, it's respectable. He also has the second best passer rating in the NFL, all the while being sacked 17 times. Those 17 sacks are tied for 4th most in the NFL with Jacoby Brissett. How much of that is Baker Mayfield? How much of that is the offensive line? Either way, he's still able to wheel and deal. Who is he wheeling and dealing to? Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin has the most receptions in the NFL, 3rd most receiving yards, but most importantly, and this is where I want to focus, Chris Godwin has the most yards after catch in the NFL. Why is this so important? First of all, the second best person he has 60 yards on. The difference in yak between Chris Godwin at number 1 and Bijan Robinson at number 3 is 100 yards. He does it, and it's kind of not close. The quarterback can get you the ball. What do you do with it? That's essentially yak. How can you extend this play? What do you do after you receive the ball? For example, a 40-yard reception could either be the quarterback throws the ball for 40 yards and you get tackled, or the quarterback checks it down 5 yards and you run 35 yards. That's a testament to your route running, your speed, your agility, your quickness, all of the things that set you up for success once the ball is in your hands. It's what separates good receivers from great receivers, and Chris Godwin does it at a very high level. He's also tied for most receiving touchdowns. Who is he tied with? Teammate Mike Evans. That's one hell of a 1-2 punch. The rush game is also legitimate. Of course, Rachaad White is dealing with some injury, so Bucky Irvin and Sean Tucker have stepped up. Sean Tucker 100% is what every general manager hopes for and dreams for in their depth chart. Next man up. Our starter is injured. What can you do for us? Sean Tucker came in and said, I can cook, and he has been cooking. So I think this offense as a whole isn't what concerns me. The INTs from Baker concern me. The offensive line a bit concerns me, those sacks. But the defense, it's the defense that concerns me. The Broncos put 26 up on them. The Falcons put 36 up on them. If that offense struggles at all, can the defense step up? I don't know. I can see it being the reason why later on in the regular season, they run into some issues. I can see it being why they run into some issues in the playoffs. Either way, my biggest concerns right now for Tampa Bay is the defense, those Baker INTs, and those 17 sacks. Nonetheless, Monday Night Football versus the Ravens should still be a really good game. Devante Adams to the Jets. This was one of the more obvious landing spots due to his connection with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers and Devante Adams spent 8 years together in Green Bay. I know Devante Adams is happy to be out of Las Vegas because there's an absolute mid-off happening at the quarterback position for the Raiders between Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. We saw it in the preseason when Antonio Pierce was like, yeah, there's quarterback competition. And we're like, yeah, it's a mid-off. Week 5, Gardner Minshew started, but then he got a couple of interceptions. And then Aiden O'Connell came in and wasn't much better. He was 3 and out and then came back and got an interception himself. So Devante Adams was like, yeah, I'm going to head on out. And I know Aaron Rodgers is happy to have Devante Adams. In their game versus the Bills, it was a really close division games. And games like that, every little thing counts. And we saw some dropped balls. We saw Aaron Rodgers call his teammate out and said that the wide receiver ran the wrong route. So you know Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw anybody the ball. So he's probably really happy to have someone who he trusts back on his team. He's still trying to build trust with Garrett Wilson. So now he kind of has a 1-2 combo that he can throw to. Will Devante Adams to the Jets move the needle in any way for the Jets? 2 seasons ago, the Jets were about 2 games away from making the playoffs. Last season, the Jets' defense was good, but Zach Wilson was at the helm on offense, so they struggled. So the assumption was, coming into this season, that if the Jets' defense was at least as good as they were last season, and the offense was elevated due to quarterback play, that they would be contenders at least in their division. At this point, with Devante Adams added to that roster, are they now competing with the Bills for number 1 in that division, or are they competing with the Dolphins for that middle spot? I personally think this division belongs to the Bills. And I think the Patriots are at the bottom fighting for their lives in the post-Tom Brady, post-Bill Belichick era. This could be really great for that offense. Just the threat of Devante Adams on the field could open Garrett Wilson up. This could be a really good 1-2 punch. It's harder to scheme up for 2 guys than it is for 1. The Jets play the Steelers Sunday Night Football in Pittsburgh. Amari Cooper to the Bills. I love this. The Bills are 4-2, number 1 in their division. They're winning games, and they're still acquiring offensive weapons. This is a situation where heading into the season, there are questions if the Bills were going to miss Stephon Diggs and if there was going to be a gaping hole on that offense. And I think the Bills said, no, we're good. I think Amari Cooper could really eat in Buffalo. He's another one that was like, nah, Cleveland, this is not it. He left Dallas, he left the Browns, and this could potentially be the best situation for him in his NFL career. The Bills play the Titans this Sunday at 1 o'clock. Should be a cakewalk, but any given Sunday, you never know. But we know. But you never know.